brutally slapped the beautiful girl for rejecting him. She ended his bullying career in 3 seconds. An inspiring story by Heartfelt Tales. The slap echoed through classroom 203 like a gunshot, followed by the most deafening silence Maya Chen had ever heard. For 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then came the sound that would change everything, the sharp, unmistakable crack of breaking bone. If you're already hooked by this story of courage and standing up for yourself, please hit that like button and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more inspiring stories that matter. Maya had always been the quiet storm in the corner of advanced physics. While other students struggled with equations, she solved them in her sleep. While others complained about the dress code, she transformed it into her own elegant style, crisp blazers over flowing skirts, hair perfectly arranged in ways that made even the strictest teachers smile. Beauty and brains, her grandmother always said, but Maya knew the real truth. She was just herself, unapologetically. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Maya arrived early, as always, her navy blazer pressed to perfection, her notes organized in color-coded folders. She loved these quiet moments before the chaos began, when she could review her homework one final time and prepare for whatever challenges the day might bring. She never imagined the biggest challenge would come from Derek Morrison. Derek had been circling Maya like a predator for months. Not the charming kind of attention that movies romanticize, but the persistent, uncomfortable kind that made her skin crawl. He would lean too close when asking about homework assignments, make comments about how pretty girls shouldn't be so smart, and corner her after class with requests she had no interest in entertaining. Maya had tried everything the guidance counselors suggest. She'd been polite but firm. She'd avoided being alone with him. She'd even tried having friends nearby as buffers. But Derek Morrison was the kind of boy who mistook kindness for encouragement and silence for consent. "Hey, Maya," Derek's voice cut through her morning ritual like nails on a chalkboard. She looked up from her physics textbook to find him standing over her desk, that familiar smirk playing across his lips. His friends flanked him like bodyguards, though Maya knew they were really just an audience for whatever performance he was planning. "Derek," she acknowledged coolly, not looking up from her work. "So, I was thinking," he continued, sliding uninvited into the seat next to her, "there's this new movie playing downtown this weekend. You and me, Friday night. What do you say?" Maya had said no to Derek Morrison 17 times in the past 3 months. She'd said it politely, firmly, and every way in between. She'd explained she wasn't interested in dating anyone. She'd told him she was too busy with school. She'd even tried the classic "I'm focusing on my studies" approach. Nothing worked. "Derek, I've told you before. I'm not interested. Please respect that." The smirk faded from his face, replaced by something darker. Maya felt the familiar knot forming in her stomach, the one that appeared whenever Derek's facade began to crack. "Come on, Maya. Don't be like that. One date. You might actually have fun for once instead of being such a stuck-up." "No." Maya's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "I said no, and I mean no. Please leave me alone." The classroom had gone quiet around them. Other students pretended to be absorbed in their phones or textbooks, but Maya could feel their attention like heat lamps. Everyone knew about Derek's persistence, but like her, they'd learned to look the other way, hoping someone else would handle it. Derek's jaw tightened. His friends shifted uncomfortably, suddenly less eager to be part of whatever was happening. But Derek Morrison had built his identity on never backing down, especially not in front of an audience. "You think you're better than me?" His voice was low, dangerous. "Walking around here like you're some kind of princess, acting like you're too good for everyone?" Maya felt her heart racing, but her voice remained steady. "I think I have the right to say no when someone asks me out. That's all." What happened next unfolded in slow motion. Derek's hand moved faster than thought, faster than anyone could intervene. The slap connected with Maya's cheek with a sound that seemed to crack the very air in the room. Maya's head snapped to the side, her perfectly arranged hair falling across her face like a curtain. For those 3 eternal seconds, the world held its breath. Maya's cheek burned with the imprint of Derek's hand, but something else was burning too, something that had been smoldering from months of unwanted attention, dismissive comments, and the exhaustion of constantly having to defend her right to exist in peace. When Maya turned back to face Derek, her dark eyes held no tears, no shock, no fear. Instead, they blazed with the accumulated fire of every girl who had ever been told she was asking for it, every woman who had been blamed for a man's inability to hear the word no, every person who had ever been made to feel smaller for refusing to shrink. Derek Morrison had made one critical miscalculation. He assumed that Maya Chen's quiet strength was the same as weakness. He thought her politeness meant she wouldn't fight back. He believed, like so many bullies before him, that his victim would simply absorb his violence and move on. He was wrong. Maya rose from her seat with the fluid grace of a dancer and the focused intensity of a warrior. Years of martial arts training, something she'd kept private, preferring to let people underestimate her, had taught her that real strength isn't about throwing the first punch. It's about knowing exactly what to do when someone throws one at you. Derek, emboldened by his own actions and expecting Maya to cower or cry, reached out to grab her arm. "Don't you walk away from me when I'm talking to you." Maya's response was swift, precise, and absolutely devastating. She caught Derek's extended arm, used his own momentum against him, and applied a joint lock that her sensei had taught her was reserved for situations where someone's safety was genuinely threatened. The technique was called Udgarami, an arm entanglement that could control or, if necessary, break. Derek had about half a second to realize his mistake before Maya applied pressure. The crack that followed was the sound of Derek Morrison's elbow joint discovering its limitations. Derek's scream pierced the silence that had held the classroom captive. He dropped to his knees, cradling his arm against his chest, his face contorted in pain and shock. His friends stood frozen, suddenly understanding that they had witnessed something much more serious than teenage drama. Maya stood over him, breathing steadily, her blazer somehow still perfectly pressed despite what had just occurred. When she spoke, her voice carried the quiet authority of someone who had finally decided to use their power. "I said no, Derek. I've been saying no for months. No means no, whether you like it or not." The classroom door burst open as Mrs. Patterson, their physics teacher, rushed in after hearing Derek scream. She took in the scene quickly, Derek on the floor, Maya standing calmly beside her desk, 30 students staring in various states of shock and awe. "What happened here?" Mrs. Patterson demanded. Before Derek could fabricate a story, before his friends could spin the narrative in his favor, something unexpected happened. Jennifer Walsh, the quiet girl who sat in the back corner, stood up. "Derek slapped Maya," she said clearly. "He's been harassing her for months, and when she said no to a date, he hit her." Maya defended herself. One by one, other students began to speak up. Maya had never realized how many of them had witnessed Derek's behavior over the months, how uncomfortable it had made them, how many had wished someone would do something about it. "He's done it to other girls too," someone else added. Maya tried to handle it quietly. She was always polite about it. She told him no so many times. Mrs. Patterson's expression shifted from confusion to understanding to anger. She'd been teaching for 25 years and had seen this pattern before, the boy who couldn't take no for an answer, the girl who was expected to just endure it, the moment when patience finally ran out. As the school nurse examined Derek's arm and the principal was called, Maya sat quietly at her desk, her hands steady as she organized her notes. Her cheeks still stung where Derek had hit her, but something else had changed. The knot of anxiety that had lived in her stomach for months was gone, replaced by a calm certainty that she had done exactly what needed to be done. The aftermath unfolded quickly. Derek's arm was indeed broken, a clean fracture that would heal but would serve as a permanent reminder of the day he learned that actions have consequences. The school's investigation revealed a pattern of harassment not just toward Maya, but toward several other girls. Derek was suspended and eventually transferred to another school. Maya faced no disciplinary action. The dozen witnesses, the clear evidence of ongoing harassment, and the obvious disparity between a slap across the face and defensive action made the administration's decision easy. If anything, they were forced to confront their own failure to address Derek's behavior before it escalated to violence. But the real change happened in the days and weeks that followed. Maya noticed other students walking a little taller, speaking up a little more freely. Jennifer Walsh, who had been the first to speak up as a witness, joined the debate team. Other girls began reporting harassment instead of suffering in silence. Maya became something she had never intended to become, a symbol. Not because she had used violence, but because she had refused to accept it. Students would nod respectfully when she walked down the halls, but it wasn't the fearful respect that Derek had tried to command through intimidation. It was the genuine respect earned by someone who had drawn a line and defended it. 3 weeks after the incident, Maya was approached by Sarah Kim, a sophomore who had been dealing with her own harassment situation. "I wanted to thank you," Sarah said quietly. "What you did, it made me realize I don't have to just take it. I reported the guy who was bothering me, and they actually did something about it." Maya smiled, the same quiet strength radiating from her that had always been there, but now acknowledged and respected. "You don't have to thank me, Sarah. You found your own courage. I just reminded you it was there." That Friday, Maya walked into physics class wearing the same navy blazer, the same confident stride, the same quiet dignity she had always possessed. But now everyone in that room understood something they had missed before. Quiet strength isn't the absence of power, it's power under control, waiting for the moment when control is no longer enough. Mrs. Patterson began the class with a smile. "Today we're going to talk about Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Can anyone think of a real-world example?" Maya raised her hand, but her smile said she already knew the answer to that question. The story of Maya Chen spread beyond the walls of Jefferson High School. In an age of social media and viral videos, her story became a rallying cry for young people who had ever felt powerless in the face of bullying, harassment, or violence. But Maya herself remained focused on what mattered most: her studies, her future, and the quiet revolution of teaching people to respect the word no. She graduated as valedictorian, went on to study engineering, and eventually founded a nonprofit organization that taught self-defense and advocacy skills to young people. But she never forgot the lesson of that Tuesday morning in physics class. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to be powerless. Derek Morrison's broken elbow healed in 6 weeks. His understanding of consent and respect took much longer, but eventually, even he came to understand that Maya Chen had done him a favor. She had taught him, in the most direct way possible, that other people's boundaries are not suggestions to be ignored, but lines that should never be crossed. Years later, when Maya spoke at graduation ceremonies and conferences, she would always end with the same message: respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn by giving it to others. And sometimes, the most respectful thing you can do is show someone exactly where your boundaries are. The sound of that slap in classroom 203 had broken more than just the silence. It had broken the assumption that quiet people will stay quiet forever, that polite people will never fight back, and that bullies can always count on their victims to absorb their violence without consequence. Maya Chen had proven that sometimes the most elegant solution to a problem is also the most direct one. And in a world that often tells young people to be passive in the face of injustice, her story served as a powerful reminder that there comes a moment when standing up becomes more important than staying quiet. The beautiful girl in the beautiful dress had indeed snapped his elbow before the teacher arrived. But more importantly, she had snapped the cycle of silence that allowed bullies like Derek Morrison to thrive. And in doing so, she had reminded everyone who heard her story that true beauty isn't just about how you look, it's about how you stand up for yourself and others when it matters most. Thank you for watching this story of courage and standing up for what's right. Maya's journey reminds us all that we have the power to set boundaries and defend them when necessary. If this story inspired you, please share it with others who might need to hear this message. Hit that like button if Maya's strength resonated with you, and don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more stories that inspire, empower, and remind us of our own inner strength. Comment below and tell us about a time when you had to stand up for yourself or someone else. Your story might inspire others. Remember, every like, share, and subscription helps us reach more people with these important messages. Until next time, keep standing strong and remember that your voice and your boundaries matter. This is Heartfelt Tales, where every story has the power to change lives.